It's time to get rail to Maroochydore on track. This rail infrastructure project is important to connect South East Queensland, not just for the 2032 Olympics, but also to connect residents in one of the fastest growing regions in Queensland. The former federal coalition government committed $1.6 billion and budgeted this in budget papers number 2, page 139, which needs to be matched now to get the project moving, matched by the state government to ensure that this project can get moving and be delivered in time for the 2032 Olympics. But as I've said, regardless, this project needs to happen. Now, Redcliffe had to wait more than 100 years for their rail. We don't want to see that happen when the opportunity and the need is now for the Sunshine Coast. We've seen a record budget blowout confirmed yesterday of $2.8 billion, and that's brushed under the mat as if it's just a minor petty cash. However, that's significant money, and there is much waste in the way that this government goes about their budgeting. But there is a need to ensure that money is put aside for critical infrastructure such as rail, and this money alone would have more than matched the federal funding and secured the project. But we've seen no commitment from this government and excuses. But worse than that, we saw a situation last week when the Premier was on the Sunshine Coast as part of the Olympic delegation visit. She was asked about the rail, and it was very disappointing. She was asked about rail to Maroochydore being built in time for the Olympics, and her response was, quote, from my understanding, is from memory. We did some detailed studies with the Council. I'm happy to follow that up with Minister Bailey, but we do know that there is both more and more people moving here to the Sunshine Coast. You have seen our massive infrastructure that we're actually spending at the moment in terms of upgrades to the Bruce Highway, making travel and commute so much easier. End quote. Ironically, the Bruce Highway upgrades, 80% of which were funded by the former federal government. Now, the Premier had no idea about when rail would be delivered to the Sunshine Coast, to Maroochydore, and she didn't have the courtesy to even be briefed about this. Now, we are one of the fastest growing areas, the 9th most populous city in Australia. The state government needs to commit to this project, stop making excuses, stop coming up and having media events with nothing to contribute to the infrastructure. It's desperately needed. It's time it was delivered and committed to.